Okay, so I need to go over my context. Obviously that's just first things first. Um, so this is context. Um, so just like a quick summary, I guess, of what my project is. I don't know if I need to include this, but since obviously it's not a predetermined project, I feel like I should maybe just discuss what is my project. My project is to disprove the need to use KPI sheets and subsequently from Project 1, smart targets in improving in Overwatch 2 specifically, through physically reviewing my gameplay, either self-reviewing or with my coach. This will be showcased through a series of videos showcasing VOD reviews, gameplay, and three critical points analyzing and once at the start, comparing gameplay once at the start, once at the midway point, and last at the end of the project, comparing and discussing my improvement. I also have high ranked players compare the gameplay start to finish and pick which of the two sets is better without telling them or prompting them which to pick. So essentially, throughout the project, I'm going to be getting VOD review sessions, either going over my own gameplay or getting my coach to go over it at 3 points. So now at the start, at the midway point, just before half term, we will get another set of gameplay, and then I'll ask my coach, can you compare these two and tell me what are the general improvements? And then at the end, we're going to take my first set of gameplay, and we're going to put it in front of high rank players, Grandmaster and Master above, um, and they're going to decide between the two without me telling them which is start and finish. Which gameplay set is better and why? What are the differences? What makes the other better than the other? And that obviously as well, the final marker will be rank. Although that is a KPI, I am fundamentally disagreeing with KPI sheets. Is the emphasis on sheets? Is that I don't agree with having to load a Google Sheet with loads of statistics from games, and I don't think that that really tells the story of where has a player went wrong with how they're playing. It might, validate an opinion, um, and in some cases I understand, but I think in improving, especially in improving, it's hard to agree. For me anyway, that KPI sheets are needed. Why? I am doing this project because I fundamentally disagreed with Project 1. The concept of using KPI sheets to help get better at a game, it did not make sense in the larger context of Overwatch as it is such a contextual game where numbers do not tell the larger meaning of a game and how or why mistakes were made. So I'm choosing to go back to this project to prove that KPI sheets are not required in improvement or for improvement. Again, I disagreed with that simple fact. I thought that um, I thought that in in Overwatch with heroes who have got different abilities and different powers and HP pools and different HP types and all the different little micro interactions that can have and how each hero works together and against each other and everything that can be taken into account in a game of Overwatch, it just to me did not make any sense to then put to be able to try and identify something with numbers. You can't tell how well a Mei is doing by her damage per second and her deaths because a Mei's job in Overwatch is to isolate enemy players and then to isolate them in a position where the team can follow up and then follow up on them. That is a Mei's job. You can't tell just off of numbers whether or not a May is accomplishing her goal. And if you were to try and put that into numbers, you'd have to have somebody individually go through a set of gameplay and watch it and count that number and then see how many times is that going through, when there isn't then even the need to record these numbers, because if you were to do that, then you'd be able to pick up anyway just by looking at it. You wouldn't need the visualization of a number. You could just say, look at this gameplay. You are not landing these walls, or you are not isolating targets well enough, or consistently, or enough at all. And additionally, my dream goal is to become a pro Overwatch player. Um, so in doing this project, if by the end of it I have risen 2 ranks or 1 rank, or I've went up a division, then that will have helped me further my dream, and that will put me closer to my goal. And if by the end of this project I can say that I am much closer to where I want to be, then I'll be extremely happy. I think it's very, very big, to me, being able to get to that, and doing this project will um, not give me an excuse to do it, but it will definitely help me. It'll propel me, and it'll make it a lot easier for me to reach this goal that I'm really trying to hit. Whether or not I can hit it is a different question, but this project can only push me closer to that. Um, so now we need to discuss, how am I going to be doing this? How am I going to do the project? How am I going to improve? Um, so the first thing is a bit of research that I'd already done from Project 1, which is, it's highlighted there, instinctive to active brain function. Through repetition, I can train mistakes out of my gameplay and train the good decisions into myself until it becomes an instinct. That is research that I already had done. I've got it here on my proposal. A conditioning experience can alter instinctive behavior. It was a study done, um, and it essentially concluded that it is possible to train our instinctive behaviors, um, to to no longer be instinct, and instead train something else into us. The best example and the easiest example to give is when a child is running along and they trip and fall, and when they land and they hit the ground, they don't catch themselves with their hands. They just fall over, and they're a mess on the floor. They've hit their face because instinctively they haven't yet learned, put your hands up to catch yourself. Um, and that is just a perfect example of, they make a mistake and then they learn from it, and then it becomes a an instinct to catch yourself. Fighters consistently, as well. I mean, any sort of competition can show this. Any competition can show this, because otherwise people wouldn't be able to get better. Because having to actively think of every little decision isn't something that happens at the pro level. Decisions are made naturally, and positions are taken naturally that aren't necessarily having to be thought about, unless there is thought required. Simple positioning, such as playing behind a wall or a shield, or that is natural instinct for top players. They don't have to think to themselves, play in natural cover. It is instinct. You peek in and out of cover. So that is, what the basis, I would say, of this project is: instinctive to active brain function through repetition. Um, I will recognize these mistakes. Let me just correct that. Um, I'll recognise these mistakes through both self and peer VOD reviewing from experienced coaches and by asking myself questions to prompt higher thought and using my knowledge of the game to help come up with clever answers. So in my time being VOD reviewed, I have picked up on questions that are always asked to me as a player. As a good coach, will always try and push you to understand the game yourself rather than having a reliance on them. Simple questions at the start. Why have you picked this hero? What makes this hero good on this particular map? Are they even good on this map? Are you just trying to play this hero because you want to play this hero? Um, if you're going onto a map that requires a lot of high ground control and you're picking a hero that isn't very mobile, why are you doing that? Um, how do you find value? If this is a hero that isn't going to control the space, how do you make them work in this particular position? And then when you then implement that into your own reviewing, so you go into a game, what is this hero looking to do? And then you look at the overall map as well, and you say to yourself, okay, this is what my hero wants to do. How do I make that an achievable goal on this map with this hero against what they're playing with what we're playing? How does this all fit together? Um, and it's an interesting question. And it's just asking yourself simple questions. What am I doing? How am I achieving it? And asking yourself those questions over and over and over until either you find an answer that makes sense, um, or you then have to reach out and ask for help. And those are the two options. And I think having the ability to self VOD is going to be very, very important. Um, Additionally, to help myself improve, I'm going to be creating a training plan, physical and game based, whether that's body weight training or how many hours a day am I playing. Look at how many hours a night I need to sleep to maintain the optimum level of brain function. Looking into the psychology of of looking into the psychology of how to be a leader and how to deal with stress, pressure, and anxiety. Um, Obviously, if I begin playing in high stress situations, such as professionally competing, how do I deal with that? What are things that I can do to negate the effects that I might be feeling when I'm under stress and under pressure and needing to cope? Um, all of this will feed into making my gameplay standards increase. Um, so that will be what I haven't mentioned here actually is what specifically is primary and secondary research. That is all melded together. Um, I don't think that really matters in this context. So, a big question that I need to explain is what is Overwatch? Overwatch is a 5v5 team-based game where people fight over different kinds of objectives. There are different heroes who are all locked into specific abilities, health amounts, weapons and roles with one tank, two DPS, and two support. What is the rank system? And there's also different maps and different map types with different objectives. So what is the rank system? So the rank goes from bronze to silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master, grandmaster, and once you are in grandmaster, you can become part of the top 500 players. So from bronze to grandmaster is all a percentage. Um, so you will find over half of the player base, well over, actually around about 80% in the first four ranks, the top 20% in the later four ranks, something along the lines of the top 10 to 5% in the last three, top 5%, 5 or 10% again, grandmaster, And then top 500 is obviously the top 500 players in their respective roles and area or region in the world. And the way that these tiers are broken up is it is bronze 5 to 1, 5 being the lowest, 1 being the highest. So if you were to be bronze 5, you'd be the lowest rank in the game. If you were bronze 1 and then you got promoted 1 division, you would move up to the next rank, which is silver 1, silver 5, sorry. I am currently diamond 4. I've already recorded the baseline video, but did not showcase this. But I am currently on Overwatch Diamond 4. I can pull that up now. And I didn't showcase this in the baseline. So if I just pull this up, just to showcase this. Another important detail is I'm going to be playing the tank role, which is why discussing the psychology of being a leader. Typically, the tank, they stand in front, they take a lot of damage. They are supposed to be the one calling the shots and leading. As you can see, current Diamond 4. I did peak on Diamond 2, which again, Diamond 4 or Diamond 5 lowest, or rank, whatever rank you're in, the 5th is lowest, 1 is the highest. So season high Diamond 2. I do play a little bit of the other roles, but again, all of the top 5 are tanks. You can see there a lot more games won on tank than on the other roles. So yeah, that is just showcasing the rank. So the next question is, what is the Overwatch path to pro? I mentioned this as to do my project. I mentioned this as a reason to do my project. So how do I achieve this? Again, part of my reasoning for the project is this is my passion, this is my goal, this is my drive. Everything that I want to do comes down to I want to become a pro Overwatch player. How do I do this? Well, the Overwatch path to pro started in 2018, as you can see there. Is this simple chain. So it starts with getting a good rank. You have to be somewhere in the top, let's say 100 in your role, in your region, to become an Overwatch Open Division champion, typically. And if you are in that area and you are lucky enough to become an Open Division champion, or to stand out enough in Open Division, then you may be offered a position in Overwatch Contenders, which is the next step up, which is where people start becoming semi-professional, paid players. Things start becoming a little bit more serious. There's a lot more recognition being drawn to the name of Overwatch Contenders. There's a lot more viewership, and it is the step directly below Overwatch League, which is the highest form of Overwatch gameplay. It is the pinnacle of what is considered greatest status or greatest position that you could be in the world. If you're the champion of the Overwatch League, you can call yourself the best player in the world. That isn't necessarily factual, but it can be argued. And this is the path to pro. It doesn't say there is no open division. You can join at bronze, and that is completely acceptable. But the open division champions are, as I said, typically top 100, and to get there is a long journey for me. From diamond to top 500 is going to be a big leap, and it will require a lot of playing. But it is something that is possible. It's something that has been done by people, and it's something that I'm looking to do. I believe there's been more stuff talked about it, and now they're actually allowing for open division teams to play against contenders teams, and whichever of them comes out on top get a chance in something called the Pro-Am, which is a very, very new thing that has just come out. Where Overwatch League Overwatch League teams could end up playing against. Let me just go to Twitter. There is a post about it, where essentially open division teams, the best open division teams, play in qualifiers um, against contenders teams to then get into a pro-am with pro teams. They will be transported to America, um, um, and free of charge, and get a chance to prove themselves as top quality players against the best players in the entire world. And even though that might not lead necessarily to them um, winning against these pro teams, they could very well um, take maps or even showcase their ability well enough to be picked up, which offers a very, very possible breach into Overwatch League. As if a contenders team or an open division team makes it in and really challenges an Overwatch League level team, then they could say, well, they could showcase that as an Overwatch League team, you are paid to do this. They have so much more resources at their disposal. But if these players have so much talent that they're able to really pressure somebody or pressure a team like that, then I think that is a brilliant opportunity now, more than ever, for the path to pro to be in sight. So I think that's a very, very big positive looking forward. And there is actually one other aspect that I need to discuss, which is collegiate, which is a college-based league system. Um, Typically only an option in America and usually requires people to already be very good rather than developing them as players. So there are some players who've come up through collegiate, which was essentially some colleges and universities in America were funding money and picking up scholarships, same as American football players would get a scholarship at a college for just being so good at their given sport, or basketball, typically in America. It's the same with Overwatch now. They're being offered these opportunities. And although it is supported in Britain by the BEA, Newell, and there's a few others, it's not to the same pedigree that American collegiate is referred to. There isn't even a Korean or Chinese or Oceanic or European collegiate. There's only American, and that is the only one that is officially supported by the Overwatch Path to Pro and Play Overwatch, which does kind of put um, which it does make it a little bit harder for people who are interested in taking the safer route, which is allowing themselves to get a diploma or a degree or, a safer option for a job besides such a competitive industry where it's not guaranteed that a team will pick you up or that you will get played or that longevity is guaranteed. Very few players make it very far in the league or even make it there. There's only 20 teams to be seen, so um, and 5 players a team, well, 5 to 7 typically. So it's a very, very risky game that gets played. Um, but Collegiate does support that, and again, in some degree, the British Esports Association and the Newell do
You can
support
figure
it.
out how to bark.
What
How?
has just come
Dude, you
on?
you notice they like growl. They
What was that? That scared me. Um, that really scared me. Um, but yeah, the collegiate is not. Collegiate is not. I'm sorry, the BEA is not supported as much as collegiate is, um, which is unfortunate. But it just leaves less opportunity for me. The next thing that I need to discuss is meta. Meta is the change in a hero or a map. Typically, heroes with Overwatch, they'll change stats, so how much damage a hero does, how much health they have, a cooldown on an ability. It's usually a numbers game with changes in Overwatch. And Overwatch has balance changes every 30 days, meaning that over the course of my project there will be two potential meta changes, meaning that my rank could flux depending on these factors. Having to learn new heroes and understand them takes a lot of work and usually means that my rank will drop. So depending on balance changes, my rank could also decrease then. Additionally, the new season will bring a new hero, and that will happen before the end of the project, which may greatly affect my rank depending on their impact on the game. So, and I would say that is also a meta change thing. So if this new support comes out and it completely flips meta expectations or meta heroes on their head, and I now have to learn a hero that I haven't played much of. Currently, I'm already learning a lot of heroes. Since Overwatch 2 came out, I when Overwatch 1 came out, there was two tanks, which meant that half the tanks were split to one role, half were split to another. Um, and those were the heroes that I knew. And now I'm having to not only learn a different playstyle with the changes that one tank brings, but a lot of the metas have been heroes that I wasn't necessarily familiar or comfortable with, which meant a lot of learning for me. Um, and if now the next meta brings another hero that completely flips the meta again, and I have to completely learn another hero from scratch, um, this could be very challenging and it could be detrimental and it might show up um, if a playstyle has to completely change. So that's something important to note and be wary of. Um, why am I picking Overwatch? Overwatch has been my favourite game for over 2 years, since season 25. When did season 25 of Overwatch come out? Season 25 came out November 5th, 2020. Um, so, and it ended January 2021. So I've been playing this game consistently every single season, putting in effort and putting in work since around November 2020. That is a very, very long time to be playing one game and dedicating yourself to one game and only having a passion and a drive for that game. At that point in time, I was bronze. I have went all the way from bronze to diamond. I went from the lowest possible rank that you could ever be in to being in the top 20% in the world. It's been a passion for me to get better at this game. I've been trying to do it for so long. Um, I've been in the Overwatch esports area in many different forms for a long time, whether that is just playing the game, casting, managing, captaining, and coaching teams, streaming the game, organizing events like show matches, watching the esports and trying to understand, and that's what sparked my interest. Was I began watching pro level esports in lockdown, and I saw this and I implemented it into my game, and it allowed me to climb up, and I started getting better at the game as I played it more and more, and watching videos, and I became so invested in this esport area. I watched the pro level, I watched the people below the pro level and contenders. I found out what collegiate was, I started watching it. I needed hours and hours and hours and hours of this content. I found teams that I enjoyed. You can actually see a hat right there of the team that I support, and in the drawer there's also a t-shirt. Um, it is a big part of my life and it has been since 2020. I really want to do something with this game, and that is exactly why I'm choosing it. It is by far my favourite game. It's the only game that I can see myself wanting to play every day for 10 weeks as well. um, which also leads into other options for games. There are other options for competitive esports that I could have chosen, such as Rainbow Six Siege, which is first-person shooter, like Overwatch, with a more realistic and gritty take on FPS games. Um, it's very human. You're not playing against big robots in uh, you're not playing against people in big robots with micro missiles and boosters and shotguns and people that can turn invisible and stuff. It's real life things. Although there are some less realistic things in the game now, it is still very realistic. Headshots are instant kills on that game for everybody. Um, there's more human abilities and things like that, such as EMPs and well, yeah, um, electromagnetic disruptors and IEDs and all sorts of things. That is an 18 plus. Um, but it's very big in esports, and I could have picked it because, and actually, hold on, I'll get to that point after. Although I have less interest in this game, and like Overwatch, more childish and cartoonic graphics and playstyle. Valorant has a similar art style, and again, is an FPS game, but I like the intriguing map designs and different hero roles and abilities that Overwatch has that Valorant lacks. I tried Valorant, I wasn't a big fan. I like being somebody with a big HP pool who can take and make space, who isn't in danger of just going like that. Um, Valorant doesn't interest me in the same way that Overwatch does. Nothing brings me that sort of drive to want to be the best possible player I can be, even on roles that I'm not necessarily interested in. I will play if I'm bored and I just want to play a quick game with low effort but still want to try a little bit. I will go into a competitive game on the other roles in Overwatch too. Um, One of the biggest esports in the world is League of Legends, which, unlike Overwatch, is a third person. It is MOBA. It is also a MOBA. Although Overwatch has a MOBA aspect to it, they are fundamentally very different. One's third person, Overwatch is first person. Overwatch having a much higher tempo as well and less macro knowledge required with a higher micro ceiling. There's a lot of aim to do with Overwatch. Being able to hit headshots and flick round to eat stuff with a defense matrix on D.Va or landing a certain amount of shots or being very quick and reactive with reflexes, whereas League of Legends is very macro. There's a lot more. There's items and abilities and so many heroes, and but fundamentally it is the same map every time. Um, as well. So there's a lot of macro knowledge to both of them in different ways. I would say League of Legends has more macro knowledge because of so many interactions that can have, just because of the abilities and the items and stuff. Um, And also, unlike Overwatch, somebody could pick up a different item in certain games and you wouldn't know what item they have, and that changes your interaction with them. League of Legends is just. Overwatch is my game, is the only thing that I can really see. Overwatch just is my game. Um, and I had a point that I wanted to come back to. Um, but that is simply it. Overwatch is my game. I want to play it a lot. Nothing really gives me the same sort of drive um, as Overwatch does. And if I can't find the passion to play a game casually, I'm never going to find the drive to play the game so competitively and dedicate myself to it so much that I can try and become better when all I'd want to do every time I booted up Valorant would be I want to go swap to Overwatch to go play that game instead. And I think that would be detrimental to my project. that'll be detrimental to my even attempt at improving. It'd be detrimental to what my personal wishes is, my mental health. I wouldn't be able to maintain that for 10 weeks. And even though, if I was to start playing Valorant, because I've never been ranked on it, I'd play the game, I'd learn a bit about it, and then I'd get into ranked. And the growth would be exponential because when you first start playing a game, there's so much stuff to learn that you can just, it's, I keep on messing this up. It's base knowledge that can be picked up in a matter of, one game in Valorant's case, it's 45 minutes, but it's stuff that can be picked up and recognized and then just instantly is recognized and adapted, and you might forget it sometimes, but it'll only take a few mistakes to learn something so fundamental. And I know that with Overwatch, and it might sound like if I've already climbed so far that I could plateau, and this might just be the rank that I can reach, but I'm confident in myself and my abilities, and I know for a fact that I have the drive to continue trying to get better at this game, and that's all I want to do, and I'm going to do that with this project. So, I'm currently just pushing myself and pushing myself, and I, even though there is the possibility that I plateau, I'm a firm believer that I can do absolutely anything that I want to do, and so I'm going to try my best to do it. I might add more stuff to the context page afterwards, but I think this might just be the full conclusion to the context.